Hi everybody, it's me inside Leo's mind. Today I'm going to read you a book that everyone will all know and love. You've seen the Grinch in movie and films like the Benedict Cumberbatch version, the Jim Carrey one, and the Boris Karloff film. Now I'm going to read you the book. The idea, sorry, I mean the inspiration for the film came from this book by Dr. Seuss. It's titled How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. Let's begin the story now so I can read to everyone. Mr. Grinch, let's let the story begin. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas. The whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could perhaps that his shoes were too tight. It could be that, most likely the reason of all, it may have been his heart was two sizes too small. But whatever the reason, whether it's his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows beneath their town. He knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas. It's practically here. Danny growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. All the Who boys and girls wake up bright and early. They rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise! Oh, the noise! The one thing that he hated, the noise! When the Who's young and old sit down and they feast, and they feast. They would feast on Who pudding, and they and rare Who roast beast, which something with the Grinch couldn't stand at least. And then they do something he like all. Every Who down in Whoville, tall and small, they would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They would stand hand in hand. All the Who's would start singing. Fa-Who Doris, silent night, holy night. They all sang, and they sang, and they sang. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas singing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've been putting up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? And he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed to his throat. He made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. Since reindeers are scarce, there's no one to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No! The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. Max! Oh, Max! So he called his dog Max, and he took some red thread. He tied a big horn on the top of his head, and look what the Grinch is doing. Poor doggy. Then he loaded some bags and an empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. The Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the home where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. At the windows were dark, the quiet filled the air, and the Who's were dreaming sweet dreams without care. He came to the first house on the square. "There's stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed. He climbed on top of the roof, empty bags at his fist. But he slid down the chimney with a rather pinch, but if Santa could do it, so could the Grinch. He got stuck for 1 moment or 2. He stuck his head with the fireplace flue, where the Who stockings hung in row. "These stockings," he grinned, "first thing to go." He slithered with a slunk with a smile, with the most unpleasant. Around the room he took every present: pop guns, bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. He stuffed them in bags. The Grinch nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. He slunk to the icebox. Slunk! He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned up the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. He stuffed all the food in chimney up glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and started to shove, when he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. What, the Grinch has been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking your Christmas tree? Why?" But that old Grinch was so smart and slick, he thought up a lie and thought of it quick. "My sweet little tots," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on once. I am taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." The fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, he got her a drink, and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who was sent up to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. The last thing he took was a log of their fire. He went up to the chimney, find himself the old liar. On their walls it was left but nothing but hooks and wiles, and that one speck of food that was left in the house was a crumb that's even too small for a mouse, like that mouse right there. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. And look what he did. All night and all midnight he did. It was 1/4 dawn. All the Who's are still abed, all the Who's still a snooze. When he packed his sled, it packed with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, the tinsel, the trimmings, and the trappings. 10,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode to the to the tip-top to dump it. They poo-poo to the Who's, was the Grinch humming. They will find out that we know Christmas is coming. They'll be waking up. I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hung open a minute or two. The Who's down in Hooterville will cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch. I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he heard a sound rising up the snow. It started low, and it started to grow. But it wasn't so sad. It sounded merry. It couldn't be so. It was merry, very. He stared at the Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes and shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and small, was singing without presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow the order is just the same. The Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold and snow, stood puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzles for 3 hours with the puzzler of a store. Then the Grinch thought of something before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, was a little more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say the Grinch was a small heart, grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed through the bright morning light. He brought back the toys, and the food and the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the Who roast beast. Well, that's the end of the story. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, so see you on the flip side. And Merry Grinchmas and Merry Christmas.